shadow in the government's game. Pawn as a child with no face and no name. They stole my past to leave me cold and alone. Always searching for a place that could go home. I was lost in the dark, just a tool in the hand, till she pulled me close and helped me understand. Now the fire inside is starting to rise. I can see the truth through 1,000 lies. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hellhound beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. In the dead of the night, I can hear the call. All the ghosts of my past scratching through the wall. My eyes change colors, the power has grown. With Crowley the hound, I'm never alone. I used to be hollow, a man made of glass, but now I am reclaiming every year that has passed. Every memory is falling right back into place. I know every name and I remember every face. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's a magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hell beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. I ain't running no more, yeah, I'm ready to fight. Gonna settle that debt in the depth of the night. They tried to break me, they tried to erase, but they can't hide the blood from the scars on my face. The veil is thin and the engine is hot. I'm taking back everything that they thought I forgot. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hellhound beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. I remember it all now. Every single face, I'm calling for you in the dead of the night.
Tonight's part 2. Anyway, kind of update you a little bit. I got to the point where I was living at the farm and little things started happening at that haunted farm. Seen the first dog man, even though I didn't know what it was. I was told it was a werewolf. Of course, they didn't know what it was back in those days either. But things started to take a darker turn. We was out there one night. My dad was gone out partying someplace, and the vehicles started starting up. Tractors, combine, trucks, a little bit of everything starting up. And we would watch through the window, and the vehicles and the equipment would drive around by itself, like it was being driven by some invisible force. We'd watch that one night, all night long, and you'd try to go out, go off the porch, and they'd head right for you like it was trying to run you down. So the front yard was fenced in, but still we didn't want to take a chance. Figured they might come through the fence after us, so it's kind of bad. You'd stay in the house, and the house was haunted. Go outside in these vehicles and tractors and combines and big trucks. Drive around all night long. And then just all of a sudden, just as quick as it started, they'd go park themselves where they'd started out. Sometimes you'd see the machine shed door open, and all of a sudden, truck, tractor, big 2-ton truck would pull in and just shut off. It was kind of weird. We never did figure out what was causing that. Must have been the spirits there, or some kind of evil force, if there is such thing as an evil force. I think sometimes that what we think of as an evil force is just a force that we call it that for lack of a better term. Never did see a demon come running out with horns and all that. All we knew was those trucks and tractor stuff start up by themselves and drive around several hours at night. So this went on for quite a while. My dad was still gone. He was an alcoholic. He could be a couple of weeks, not touch a drop, and then all of a sudden, just something would flip. And him and my uncle, his brother, they'd take off, and hell, they might be gone for weeks or months at a time. There was really no warning. It just, something inside of him flipped, and he'd take off, and we was stuck out there. Me and my mom's youngest brother. He didn't care if the electricity got turned off or there wasn't no gas for the car for Mom to go to work. Didn't care about the livestock or nothing. He'd just flat ass just take off. And there we would be stuck. My mom's dad, he was good to me. My mom went to him for help one time and wouldn't know if she could move in, me and her brother. And he looked there and he goes, "No, sis. Told you not to marry that son bitch. You married him anyway. You thought you was growing up and you're going to do what you want to do, so you made your nest. You lay in it, scoop the shit out of it. Good luck to you, though." So we went back at that haunted house and proceeded to stay there, and got to where you didn't know if there was going to be electricity or propane or anything. Luckily, the old house did have a fireplace because it was built back in the 1800s, and that fireplace was huge. So, worst come to worst, we'd go out and scavenge up some wood to keep at least one of the rooms warm, where we could sleep in there. Got down so bad sometimes that there wasn't no food in the house, and we'd have to go out and butcher a hog or a cow, chickens, eat what we had in the garden and what Mom put in a jar. But we didn't starve. And like I said, just one day you look up and here come that old pickup truck. He'd pull in just big as shit, and like he'd only been gone for an hour or so, and act like nothing was going on, like he didn't do nothing wrong. Could never figure it out. I chalked it up that he just didn't have a damn conscience or just didn't give a shit. But in any case, on one of those tours where he was gone, we'd been having problems, and these dogmen got to where they was coming up around the house. But it was funny, though, because when those vehicles would be driving around, you wouldn't see the dogmen. But the activity in the house would pick up. So it was almost like the house was trying to chase you out to the vehicles, and the vehicles was trying to keep you crowd back in the house. It's kind of like you was in the middle of a battle, and you didn't know which side you was going to have to choose to face. So you tried to hunker down and do the best you could, and all of us stayed in one room, and that's the way we handled that. Well, this one particular night I remember, me and my uncle was up in the bedroom asleep. My dad was home, and it's funny, things calmed down whenever he'd come home. And I think that was to keep us all separated, you know. So that night, Mom and Dad sat up watching 10 o'clock news, and me and my uncle was told to go up and go to bed. So we went up, go to bed, and I grabbed my little clown doll. We had this big AFX racetrack. And it was a racetrack you plugged into the wall, and you had these cars that set, and there was a slot they would follow. And you had the little guns, you'd pull the trigger, and the further back you pulled the trigger, the faster these cars would go. They was pretty new for their day. So sometimes we'd go up there and race them cars before we go to bed. Well, this racetrack was so big it covered the whole bedroom floor. So when you got up in the morning, you had to make sure you stepped over the track. Otherwise it'd pinch you on the foot a good one. But we went to bed one night after we done racing the cars, and he climbed in his bed and I was in my little bed right there, just about a foot away from his bed. Me and the little doll, I tucked him in with me and pulled the covers up around myself. He pulled the chain and shut the light off. I was laying there sleeping. Now, this little clown had bells on his feet, and there was a bell on a little hat thing. So every time I'd move in bed, you'd hear that ding, ding, ding. That night, I went to bed and heard them bells going across the floor, and I was feeling around in bed, and I couldn't find my clown. So my uncle told me, he said, "Will you quiet down over there, trying to get some sleep over here?" I said, "It ain't me." I said, "My doll's gone." He's like, "What do you mean it's gone? Quit over there shaking it." I said, "I'm not. It's down there at the foot of the bed on the floor. That's it walking around. It ain't me." So he sat up in bed and pulled the string. Light come on, and there that son of a bitch was, standing at the foot of his bed, staring straight at him with his hand on the footboard. He looked at me and looked at it, and looked back at me and looked at it. He goes, "Slowly, come over here." So I rolled over on my side of the bed, and feet hit the floor, and by the time my feet hit the floor, I was running, jumped up, and he caught me. And while he caught me, that damn thing disappeared. We didn't see where it went. So we heard Mom and Dad, I guess, going to bed. They was coming down the hallway, 2 sets of footsteps. So my uncle hurry up, turned the light off so we didn't get in trouble. They walked. We seen their feet go past the bedroom door, the little slot under the door. And all of a sudden we seen the light go off in the hallway and heard their door open and shut. So it went on probably about an hour, and didn't know where in the hell that doll went to. We wasn't going to get up and look for it either. We wasn't getting our ass whipped. So got to sleep there about an hour. That damn racetrack started up, and them little cars had headlights. And in them big, tall rooms, they made a hell of a racket. Man, it wasn't long. Heard my dad open that door, and here he come down the hallway a-stomping, beating on the door. "Shut that goddamn track off, go to bed." Like it ain't us. If I come in there, both you two getting your ass whipped, and I'll take that track apart. It ain't us. He opened that door, and them cars was going round and round that track, and that damn doll, that clown doll, was sitting right in the middle of the track with both guns. That time Dad looked, the clown just fell over and dropped the guns, and the car stopped right in place. My dad told us, he said, okay, enough of the jokes. Put the clown back in your bed, get in your own bed, and quit running that damn track. Next time I come here, somebody's getting ass whooping. It's going to be both of you. So we was trying to explain. He said, I ain't going to hear about it. Y'all are lying. Knock off the bullshit. I got to get up early in the morning and get back to the back field. Okay. So we took the blame for it, but it wasn't us. I grabbed the doll, put him in bed, and Uncle turned the light off. Laying there, and now I'm wondering how in the hell this doll's doing this. Kind of a little strange. So the rest of the night was kind of uneventful. But then next day my dad was down in the back field working, and West Boy, we got up late that morning and went downstairs, and Mom had gravy going and bacon and stuff. So we set up the table, and ate and drank breakfast, and Mom said, well, as soon as I get the mess cleaned up, we're going to take the truck and run back there and take your dad to breakfast and some coffee in his thermos. Never could understand it because he'd take off like that, and come home, my mom would act like nothing was wrong. Then again, he acted like nothing was wrong either, so really didn't say too much about it. We just kind of figured, well, that's the way it is. So she got done with dishes and putting stuff away and made him a plate, got him a thermos of coffee, and we headed out the door. Went out there and got in the old truck and headed back through the pasture to go back to the fields, and noticed the old pond back there. The water wasn't much of a breeze, but the water looked like it had white caps, like it was really kind of like a bubbling. We had kind of shook it off as maybe the wind's coming down, and who knows. All we knew is we had to take the food back there, and got back there, and Dad brought the old Ford tractor up to where we was at, and shut her down to an idle, and hopped off and took his food, and thanked Mom for the food, and proceeded to bark orders at us that we get back, we need to go out there and water them hogs. Spray the ground. Don't spray them, they'll have a heart attack. Spray the ground and they'll roll in the mud. Just keep the water off of them. Make some big mud holes. Then he told us that afterward we need to go and do some choring in the garden. Then if we wanted to, we'd go down and mess around in the machine shed as long as we didn't start nothing. So everything was chore. But going down to the machine shed, we'd have fun down there. We'd do all kinds of stuff down there. My uncle was all the time working on something. So my uncle was pretty smart for his age. He was all the time making all kinds of nifty stuff or working on a fishing pole. Never seen him ever fish, but he liked to work on them. So we went back to the house and watered the hogs like he said, and then we made some mud holes for them to waller in. Took out the slop to the hogs and went out and worked in the garden, got one row of beans weeded, and decided to hell with that noise. That was boring. So we proceeded to go down to the machine shed and open the big door and walk in. We in there, and my uncle started tinkering around, and I'd sit there on the bench and watch. Every so often he'd hand me something to keep my mind busy. So I'd sit there and watch him. He pulled these. He got something in the mail a couple days before, and he wouldn't let me see what it was, but I still don't remember the name of them, but it was a string with two balls attached, one at each end, and it had a little round hook. Later years, I found out I didn't know what the name of it was. Still can't remember the name of it, but I know what it was used for. You would twirl them, and them balls would go around on that string, and the Spaniards would use those to catch horses with or catch cattle. You'd swing them round, and you'd turn loose of it, and they would go out and wrap around the horse's feet or the cattle's feet, even people if you threw them, and it would wrap around and cause them to fall over, and then you could go and put a rope around them, hog tie them, so to speak. That way you could brand them or give them shots, whatever you need to do. So he got those out and let me play with those for a while, and he said, don't knock yourself in the damn head with them, though. Well, I was sitting there, and I'd take and raise it up and down, and them balls would clack. I was having me a good old time playing with them things, even though that really wasn't what they was used for. Wasn't rich, so we didn't have a lot of money to spare, but that was something that basically is a string with two balls attached and a little round hook. Well, hell, that was entertaining to me. I'd sit there, clack, 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 clack. For now, I probably drove my uncle nuts, but he didn't say nothing because I was busy and I wasn't in his way, so he didn't care. So we was in there, heard somebody outside the door out there walking around. Well, nobody ever walked all the way around that machine shed. So my uncle found a great big huge wrench used for taking lug nuts off a big truck. He grabbed that and he said, I don't know who's out there, but don't open that door. He was standing there by the door, me and him. He goes, be real quiet. And you could hear him walking around, real heavy feet. All of a sudden, he reached down and locked the door, and this thing grabbed the door handle, and you could see it shaking that door handle. My uncle said, you stay here and be quiet. He reached down and unlocked that door, and by the time he did, he grabbed the handle and pushed. There wasn't nothing out there. So we was looking around, didn't see nothing. He was going to clonk it on the head with that big wrench. Try to make it see stars, I guess. Shut the door and we started to walk off back to the bench. And it did it again. My uncle run back again and opened the door with the wrench above his head. Nothing there. So my uncle locked the door, shut and locked it, and walked back to the bench. My uncle said, I'm getting tired of this. So he's sitting there working on a fishing pole. I'm sitting there clack, clack, clack with them ball and a string. All of a sudden, combine starts up inside the shed where we're at. My uncle reached down and grabbed that wrench, and we walked toward the combine, and the door was shut. Combine was running. The head was running on it. Dad still had the bean head on it. He hadn't changed over to the corn head. That old head was just like it was still up in the air, but it was turning. All of a sudden, that thing dropped down to the ground, and the combine speeded up, revved the engine up, and we're looking, and there ain't nobody inside that combine because it had a glass and a little bit of a metal cab to it, but there wasn't nobody in there. That old gleaner was a 4-head picker. Means it picked 4 rows at one time, unlike the big ones of today where they're 10, 12, 14 rows. This here was just a 4-row picker. But it was a good old picker. I mean, it was easy to work on and didn't have many breakdowns. It's kind of ugly. It was all silver looking, but it was new at the time. Top of the line. So we sat there for a few minutes, and all of a sudden it idled down, and the head went down to the ground, back on the jack stands that it had. This even had jack stands on the head. And all of a sudden, it shuts off after idling for a few minutes because it was diesel. All of a sudden, the glass door opened. You could hear somebody step out onto the platform. Door went shut. You hear somebody climbing down the ladder backwards, like my dad used to do all the time when he'd get off of it. It had a handrail, and you'd hang onto the handrails and go down backwards, and that way if you did slip, you might just bust your shin instead of busting the tailbone. So, heard somebody hit the ground, started walking toward the machine shed door, and Uncle grabbed the wrench, and we're following the sound. Anyway, it stopped at the door handle turns, door opens, something steps out. We never did see it. My uncle said, I think we need to get the hell out of here. Not only is the house haunted, but now the machine shed's haunted. So we walked out of the machine shed after we turned the lights out, and my uncle still had that big old wrench. It was about a 3-foot wrench. We walked back to the house. My uncle kept looking over his shoulder, looking around, wondering what else I guess was going to happen. So we get up to the house, and Mom said, what are you doing with that big-ass wrench? He said, well, I'll leave it here where we hang the coats. He said, damn combine down there started. She said, are you kidding me? And he goes, no. And Mom was like, take me down there and show me. So he grabbed the wrench, and we started heading back down toward the shed, and he opened the door, and my mom walked in there, and she's walking along feeling the side of the combine. You could feel the heat off of it. So Mom got up there on the ladder, climbed up. Then she climbed onto the platform, opened the door, and pulled the keys. Stuck the key in the door and turned it to lock it. She goes, I'll hang these over there by the workbench. Dad had a key ring thing over there where you hung keys at. He never hung anything there, except sometimes a wrench. So she put it up there and put it in a spot, and all the spots were marked. You know, the combine key goes here, tractor key goes here, but my dad never used them. He's probably too damn lazy. So she goes through and pulls all the keys out of the big 2-ton truck, and the other tractor is there in the shed, an old Oliver. She's hanging these all up on the nails, and we go back out the door. We come in and shut the door, and she goes, well, maybe now they won't start. Of course, I tell my husband when he comes in, otherwise he'd be mad as hell. He'd go to jump in one of them, the keys ain't in it. But she said it'd keep one of us from getting killed or getting fumigated in there in that machine shed. You know, if you can't get out, you die from the fumes. So we going back to the house. All of a sudden, we could hear the big bay doors open up there in the machine shed, and frickin' combine starts up, and starts backing out of the shed. We turned around and seen it making a turn to come up on the road that we was walking back up on. And my mom grabbed me and she said, run. We started running, and here come that combine. I mean, it was in road gear. But luckily, we had a good head start on it. We got back to the house before it got us. Run in there and opened the gate, and went inside and shut the gate, and the combine went right to that gate and stopped. Shut off. Mom goes, I know I pulled the keys. Mom said, well, I ain't going out there looking. All of a sudden, we heard the old Ford tractor coming. That was my dad. He was on the Ford 1000. So he pulls up and climbs off the tractor, and he shuffled his hat a little bit, and that told us right there he was pissed. we're all standing on the porch, and he's like, okay, which one of you smart asses decided to park the combine up here in front of the gate? I had it down there in the barn, or the machine shed. That's where it should have stayed. He goes, now, I got to take it all the way back there, drop it off, then I got to come back, then I get to sit down and eat. My mom didn't say nothing. He goes, we're having a talk after dinner. I was like, uh-oh, we're going to get another ass chewing for something we didn't do. So he gets on the combine, gets up there in the seat, and he adjusts the mirror on each side so he can back up without hitting anything. He always used the mirrors. Reached down to the side of the column of the steering wheel, and there ain't no keys. Now he's really pissed. He climbs out that door and down that ladder and runs over where we're at. It's like, uh-oh. We was all trying to keep our mouth shut because none of us didn't want to get our ass whipped. He said, who's the smart ass that got the keys? Mom said, I pulled all the keys out of everything because these boys was down there and that thing started up. Somebody walked in there and climbed up on it, started it up. Didn't shut it off, climbed off and went out the door. That's y'all crazier than hell. This is stupid shit. There ain't no such thing as ghosts, and this bullshit's gotta stop. People gonna think we're fucking nuts out here. Give me the goddamn keys. I said, I ain't got them. Last time we seen him, we hung them up down there in the key holder. He goes, I don't even use the damn key holder. He said, I put papers up there sometimes, hook them in there from the corn and the beans. But other than that, I don't hang the keys up. I leave it in the damn equipment. Now give me the goddamn keys. Like, we ain't got the keys. They're down there hanging up. If they ain't in the combine, they're down there still hanging. But then again, how did somebody get up here without a key? You couldn't start it without a key. Dad, he took the tractor and drove down to the shed. He looked for a while, and here he come back with the keys. They was hanging on the wall. He didn't say nothing. He got on the combine and give us a shitty look, and he hauled ass down the old dirt road down there to the machine shed and parked her. Wasn't long, and here he comes stomping back. Damn, he was mad. He come up there on that porch and slammed that door, went straight to the bathroom and slammed that door, and was in there going to the bathroom, and then he got and washed his hands and come out, and he tossed his hat and chair there by the upstairs door. We always kept an extra chair there. He pulled his chair out and slammed it down and sat in his chair and slid it forward up the table and grabbed his plate and started eating. Didn't even wait for us to sit down. He didn't even want to look at us, I guess. So we slowly merged to the table and took our spots. Started passing the food around. He goes, I'm going to try to keep my cool. I'm about ready to blow a gasket. Don't take no more damn keys out of anything and hang it on them damn walls. If a fire breaks out in there and I got to get to all that equipment to get it out of there before that sumbitch machine shed burns down, I need the keys in the ignitions. Leave them there. That's all I'm going to say. Like, whew, that was a short lecture. So, we didn't say nothing. We just all nodded our head. It was better off when he was mad not to say nothing. Just nod your head or shake it no. Pray for the best. Maybe he'd shut up and go outside, go back to work, or he'd leave and go get drunk, one of the two. But anyway, he went back out, got on the tractor and put the key in it and fired that tractor up. He threw the throttle to her and the old black smoke just rolled, and he hauled ass back in the field again. That was a sign of relief. We dodged another bullet. So we figured hell with it. The rest of the day we're staying up there close to the house. So another week had passed or two, and got up one morning and Dad's truck was gone. No warning. His old thermos was sitting there on the counter where it always been. Percolator hadn't been started, so guess he got one of them Bureau 30 hours going and decided he was going to take off again. Who knows what the hell he'd done when he was gone? Nobody really knew. Never even knew where he went. He'd gone about 3 weeks. We had no damn clue. We just knew we was out there to fend for ourselves. And it's kind of a routine. You just got used to it. One morning you get up and he'd be gone. So we got up, went out, tended to the livestock, go back and check the fields. Everything was kosher. That afternoon, storm was rolling in, so we went down to make sure everything was shut up and locked the hogs in till the storm passed. Sky was kind of a bluish gray, little green tinge. Turned on the radio and they was talking about severe thunderstorms and possible tornadoes coming. Temperature dropped that afternoon about 10 degrees real quick. So we knew we was probably going to get a bad storm. Wind picked up, started whipping the dust around. Mind you, one of them old western movies where the old cowboy would ride in town and you couldn't hardly see him and the horse for the dust, and he'd start patting himself off, walking the saloon through the bat-wing doors, what it kind of reminds you of. So we went and checked everything, made sure the old hogs were locked down, and cattle would take care of themselves. They'd go down and find a valley to get into. After the storm, we'd go out and check on everything. So we battened the hatches down on the house, lowered all the windows down, and sat in the kitchen where we could listen to the radio. And worst come to worst, we could always go to the basement, even though it was a spooky-looking old place. Damp, dark, and probably some creepy, crawly spiders and whatnot down there. Maybe a garter snake or two, or a bull black snake. We sitting there listening to the radio, and it just kept getting worse and worse, the old wind, and all of a sudden rain come, and here come the hell with it. I got the rain so hard you couldn't even see the driveway. So we stayed there in the kitchen, because right there in the kitchen was the door that go down into the basement, so we could make a quick escape if we had to. We rode the storm out, and several hours passed, and the storm slowly calmed down to just a drizzle. Hail and rain had stopped, and the heavy wind had stopped. All of a sudden, the sky started parting a little bit. The sun peaked a little bit, and prettiest rainbows you ever seen. We got out on the porch and looking at the rainbow, talking about all the pretty colors it had. Rainbows back then wasn't like now. Rainbows back in those days, they'd last for about 20, 30 minutes. And then all of a sudden, they'd start fading away. Back then, unlike now, when you see a rainbow, sometimes you see 2 or 3 of them kind of overlapping. Back then, you only seen one rainbow. Started out real bright colors, pinks and reds and greens, yellows, blues, all different colors. And they were huge. So it was always a sight to see one of those. I ain't a holy man at all. Matter of fact, I'm totally the opposite. But I know the stories. The rainbows have promised that the world would never be flooded again. Don't make shit to me. So we get out there and got our boots on and went out to check everything, let the hogs back out, and checked everything around, make sure everything was okay. And my uncle, he knew how to start that little Ford tractor up, so went and started it up and headed back to check on the cows, make sure they was all right, make sure there wasn't no dead ones back there from a tree limb falling on them. Them old tree limb, they call them widow makers, because 1 minute they're there and the next minute they're on top of your head and you're a dead man. We got back there and cows were okay. So we counted them. My uncle took his little notepad out of the toolbox and wrote how many cows he counted, and we'd double check when we got back to the house because Dad kept a ledger. So if a cow died, and just say there was 50 cows, he put a line through that and put 49. So that way he'd keep track of the cattle and the hog situation. That was all money. So we got back to the house and parked the tractor back inside the machine shed and hung the key. And my uncle's like, I better put the key back in that. We got our attitude the other day. You better put the key back. We put the key back on the tractor. And we walked back up to the house. Mom asked, well, what was the damage? Wasn't no damage. All the cows are there. They was down in the back 40 back there in that valley. But they was all there, and even had the ones that had calves. They was all doing okay up, grazing again. So we sitting there talking, and she goes, well, I wonder how the garden fared. Me and Mom and Uncle went out to look at the garden. Everything was a little water soaked, but corn was kind of bent over. But other than that, everything else looked pretty good. The corn would still go ahead and make sweet corn. It'd just be kind of bent over a little bit, but maybe next day or so the sun would bring it back up straight. You know how plants are, they'll lean in the direction of the sun, and if not, what the hell, you know, we could still pick the sweet corn off of it. It'd just be a little bent. Bent didn't hurt nothing. So go back up to the house, and we get to the gate, open the gate, and I ain't kidding you, it sounded like one hell of a party in the house, like there was a dance party going on in there. So we headed up onto the porch, and about the time Mom opened the door, everything stopped. It sounded like people in there running around and stomping. It just went dead silent. So we went in and walked room to room, looking around, see what the hell was going on. Didn't see nothing. Well, eventually, my dad come home one morning, and we'd always had a deal that we'd go out and check the hogs and give them the night before slop, potato peelings and whatever, and we'd check on them. Then, once they was fed and they had water, we'd go in the house down and eat breakfast. Well, that particular morning we'd went out early. Neither one of us could sleep very good, and went out and took care of the hogs, and Mom was sitting on the porch popping beans. And we got to playing with the water hose, squirt each other. We always had fun. We was always aggravating each other. We got done doing that and turned the old hydrant off and threw the hose up away from the hog pen, because them hogs, they'd get out there and they'd chew on that damn hose and pull it in there, and we'd have to re-splice the hose. My dad get mad as hell, so try to keep the hose away from the hogs, because they get bored and start gnawing on it. Went back up to the house, and Mom said, well, I'll carry these beans in and cover them up on the counter, and I got you boys' plate ready. All I have to do is dip the food. So We're sitting there eating, and I'll be damned. Here comes the old pickup truck. I guess the bars had closed, and he'd run out of money, so he come home. Like, damn, it's taking him a long time to get up here. We're sitting there eating. Hearing open the gate, come up on the porch, and he opened the old screen door. Stepped in the door and knew something was up because he started in with that hat. Like, uh-oh. What did he see? What did we miss? You boys check them hogs this morning before you stand there and start eating? Yep. We went out there and made sure they had water and took the morning slop out. He goes, you did? Yep. He readjusted his hat a little bit. He goes, you mind telling me what time you did that? Yeah, before we come in to eat. While we went out there, Mom come out on the porch popping beans. He goes, I'm going to ask you boys one more time. You all check them hogs? Take care of them? Yeah, but we just told you. You boys are liars. Don't like a liar. I know in the back of my head I was thinking the same thing my mom and my uncle was thinking, but we didn't dare say it because we valued our teeth where they was at. We was all thinking the same thing. Well, you sure in hell don't value anything else. You take off and leave us out here for weeks on end. Fend for ourselves while you're out partying and whoring around. But hey, we don't say nothing to you. He goes, can't stand a liar. I thought to myself, I can't stand a drunk either, but here we are. I didn't say it. He goes, I don't like it. When I can't even trust you guys to take care of the place when I'm gone. Like it ain't like you're in business. You out there drinking and whoring around. Don't come blaming us because you fucking drunk. He'll get your boots on. I want you to show me these hogs. Like, dude, you must be fucking crazy. So we put our rubber boots on and we follow him out the door, and he goes, lead on, boys. We walk out, open the gate, turn to the left. The hogs are along the edge of this one field. It was just cattle panels and had a hot wire at the bottom and a hot wire at the top. Had feeders out there and watering trough and little hog houses for them to go into during storms and stuff, and then had the doors. We made that corner, walked out past the old cherry tree, and looked up. No hogs, no building, no nothing. Everything was gone. Like, what the hell? We just told you don't like a liar. But we were just out here. My mom goes, they were just out here. They took the slop bucket and emptied it out there. They was out there squirting each other with the hose, acting like fools, but they was doing a chore, and they're just young guys. Oh, my God, my dad got mad. He started moving that hat around again. Like, uh-oh. He goes, all three of you get the hell out of my sight. So we hauled ass back up to the house. He's walking around. So we go up inside the house and helping Mom. He come back and he said, I want to know where them goddamn hogs went. Like, we don't know. They were out there. Just shut up. I don't want to hear a damn thing unless you're going to tell me the truth. One more lie and somebody's going to get it. But I better find out where them hogs went or somebody's going to get it. He goes outside and he's walking around the yard, smoking his Winston cigarette. All of a sudden he looks up. Way the hell back out past the machine shed, there was the hot wire, there was the cattle panels, there was the feeders, there was everything, including the hogs. So he hollered at us. We went out there and he goes, how in the hell them hogs get back there, the pins and everything, if you guys were just out there and fed them? Like, we don't know. So we got in the truck, drove back there, and there were still weeds standing. Now, anybody knows about hogs, them son of a bitch, they'll eat anything. Weeds, they'll root up the roots and eat them even. No, the weeds were still there. Grass. Them hogs were just standing there kind of looking around like, what the hell? How the hell did we get here? God damn, my dad was mad. He said, well, hell, they're done there. We're just going to leave them there till they eat those weeds down. Then we're going to move them back up here by where they was at. Steel post, everything was moved. Now, there ain't no way in about 10 to 20 minutes time you could move all that stuff without making a sound, including the hogs. We still don't have an explanation how all that got moved from one side of the house to the other side and way back down that old dirt road. Don't make no sense, but it happened. So, he didn't say no more about it, and we didn't either. We just wanted to forget about it. So, things just kept getting a little weirder and a little weirder. But one day, my uncle got a call, and he was going to go spend the weekend at his dad's house. So I was going to be home with Mom, Dad if he was home, and my doll, my little clown doll. It was a long week because without him there, I didn't have nobody to really aggravate, and nobody to aggravate me. So, for whatever reason, Dad decided to stay home, not be out partying. So he'd take my blanket, my little pillow, and put it behind the seat in the cab of this old tractor we had to Oliver. I'd go back in the field with him, and I'd sleep behind the seat, and there's a big glass back there that you'd look out, and I could watch the hitch. I could watch the dirt as we'd go into the fields. And around, then I'd go to sleep. Well, in the meantime, Mom had went in and done some grocery shopping by herself, kind of give her a little bit of time away from the house. So, when she got back, she come back to the field and in the car. Dad passed her off to her, and she put me in the back seat of that old car, and we go home, put groceries away, wait for my uncle to call. And we put all the groceries away, and I helped a little bit. Ain't much a little kid can do, but I did what I could do. We got done, and Mom said she wanted to go in and make the beds, gather up the dirty laundry out of the 2 bedrooms. So I went with her, and we was in there, and she was getting the sheets off the bed and pillowcases. Then she went to our room and pulled those sheets and pillowcases and had them in a basket. We started coming out of the room, and there was just like a big whoosh of air that come all the way through the house. Like, what the hell? Look outside, the trees wasn't blowing, so there wasn't no breeze outside. Well, while we was headed down that hallway and going into the kitchen to go down to the basement to do the laundry, everything that we had put away was now sitting on the floor, including the milk and the butter. Like, what the hell? My mom stopped what she was doing and scratched her head and like, we know we put everything away. So we proceeded to pick things up, put stuff back away. Well, Mom goes and grabs the basket, grabs me by the hand. She goes, come on. Opened up the basement door, and she didn't like to go down there because it was dank and dirty, and just that place gave you a weird feeling. We go down to the basement. She's going real easy, and I'm taking the steps with her, holding on to one handrail, and she's holding on to the other handrail, trying to hold on to the basket, too. She should have been born an octopus, I guess. She needed more arms. So we get to the bottom of the steps, and she sets the laundry basket down, and that last step was a little high, so she picked me up, set me on the ground. We headed toward the wash machine, and she always propped the upstairs that door open when we go to the basement, so she could hear if Dad hollered or come in. We was standing there, and she's separating the stuff and throw it in the laundry, the wash machine, and all of a sudden a big gust of air circled around the basement, and the door slammed shut upstairs. I mean, it slammed like somebody kicked it. We both about jumped out of our skin. Mom stopped what she was doing. She looked at me and picked me up and set me on top of the dryer. And she sat there for a few minutes, and wasn't long, and she hit the wash machine button. It started to fill up, and we headed back upstairs, and she was trying to open that door. It wasn't budging. But then she started panicking. She's pulling and tugging, and this thing ain't opening. And all of a sudden, she turned loose the door handle, and I assumed that she was probably going to go down in the basement and look for something to hit that door with to get us out of that basement. All of a sudden, the door unlatched, swung wide open. We hurried up the stairs and got into the kitchen. She's standing there, and all of a sudden that door slams shut. The little hook latch comes across and hooks. She's standing there against the sink looking at that like, what the hell? I could tell she was scared, and it wasn't doing me no good either. I was a little nervous because I wasn't sure what was going on. Was it me? We didn't see nothing. There wasn't nothing that picked that latch up and latched it. Nothing we seen open that door and shut it. But it did. All these years now, now I kind of wonder if some of that wasn't me. But back then I didn't know. So we let her go. Went outside, sit on the porch, waiting for Dad to come home. Meantime, the phone rang, and Mom thought maybe it was my uncle that letting us know that he'd be coming home. So she gave him by the hand. We walked in, and she answered the old phone that hung on the wall, old rotary phone. All it was a bunch of click, 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 click. So she hung up the phone, stood there for a minute, and then she grabbed the phone again, took it and held it up to her ear. Then you could hear a dial tone. That's weird. So she hung up the phone, started to walk off. Now, if you know anything about those phones that hung on the wall, they had a real long cord, because the women back then didn't just sit there like on a cell phone and yap. They put that on their shoulder here and cradle it like this here and walk around. Hell, that cord stretched about 50, 60 foot. And they'd walk around and do stuff while they were talking. They didn't just stand there. Too much shit to do. So I sit down in my little chair. She goes over and she's running some dishwater while the wash machine's filling up. I happened to look over and I seen that phone raised up off the receiver. I watched it go up, plumb up almost the ceiling. And my mom had just turned around, and that phone flung itself from the ceiling over across the table and hit right where she had been standing. I was surprised it didn't break as hard as it hit. My mom jumped and grabbed me, and out the door we went. We was standing out there, and you could hear somebody on the phone talking. We didn't have a party line. We had a private line. But you could hear somebody talking. So my mom grabbed me by the hand. We went back into the screen door, and she picked up the phone. I don't dare repeat what it was saying, but there was lots of name calling, and it wasn't good. A lot of cussing. My mom just hung up the phone. So as soon as she hung it up, we started to go back on the porch, and the phone rang again. So my mom picked it up, and she started to say something. Luckily, it was my uncle calling, said he was coming back out, and she goes, "Did you just call here?" He's like, "No. First time I tried to call." He said, "Well, somebody called here, and well, never mind. Just we'll see you when you get here." So she hung up the phone. We went back on the porch and sat there and enjoyed the weather. That phone just kept it'd ring one time, then it would stop. It'd ring one time, then it'd stop. Back then, my mom wasn't a real religious person like she is today, or like she claims she is today. So we just sat there, and she ignored that phone. She wasn't there going to answer it again. She done knew my uncle was coming home. We never got phone calls hardly. So we just sat there on that old porch and enjoyed that summer breeze till my dad got back. And later that afternoon, my grandpa pulled in, and him and my uncle come through the yard gate up to the porch. And, "Hey, sis, what you doing?" Me and Henry just sitting here enjoying the summer breeze." My uncle, of course, he started giving me shit and joking around. I went in with him to help him put his stuff in the bedroom, and I heard my grandma, or my grandpa, my mom talking. And he goes, "You act like you're troubled. What is it?" She goes, "Just some weird stuff been happening." He goes, "Well, like what?" She said, "Well, the door opening and slamming. The phone got through at me." And he goes, "Well, you know what you do with that, don't you?" He said, "If your husband picks up the phone and throws it at you, pick up a chair and smack him upside the head with it. Grab a skillet." She goes, "No. He was back in the field. That thing just raised up and flung across the room and landed right where had been standing." He kind of looked at her like she was an idiot. He didn't know what to say. Back in those days, there wasn't no Ed and Lorraine Warren and somebody you could call. You were just on your own. So he just kind of didn't know what to say. Maybe he thought she was losing it. Who knows? So he sat around and talked for a little bit, and he left. And Dad come back home, and he said, "So what are you guys doing just sitting around? Ain't there something for you to do?" "Well, we decided to have an easy day." He goes, "Well, hell, every day's an easy day for you guys." He's kind of a bit of a smart ass. So that evening, we watched a little TV and decided we're going to go play at the racetrack. But we had to go to bed. We had to be in bed by 10. So about 9:15, we headed upstairs to play with the racetrack for a while, and then we had to go to bed. So we get upstairs and plug the old racetrack in and put some oil down on the track and get them tires hot. Stink, oh my God, it smelled like burnt oil, but it was fun. We raced about 20 minutes. Then all of a sudden we heard the TV shut off downstairs like, oops, news is over, we better get our ass in bed. We done played a little bit longer than we should have. We quietly got in bed and turned the light off. I was laying there and heard that ting, ting, ting. My uncle's like, will you shut that damn clown up? We're going to get in trouble. I said, it ain't me. I said, I don't know where it's at. I said, but I hear it. So my uncle hurry up, turned the light on. There the clown was, standing by the closet. All of a sudden, the clown didn't grab the door. The door handle opened to the closet, and this clown, he didn't walk. He slid into the closet. And the door, I mean, it just slammed like it was going to bust. Oh my God, here come my dad up them stairs. Damn, he was mad. He opened the door and he said, you know something? I know this is an old house and it's built sturdy, but the next one of you guys that slams the door like that, somebody's ass getting whooped. If that door frame gets broke, y'all gonna be fixing it. So we kind of, okay. You're gonna get your ass in bed, knock off the bullshit. Don't need to be rough or shit like that. We quietly got in bed and Dad shut the door and Uncle turned the light off. All of a sudden you heard that door handle to the closet turn. It made a real kind of a funny squeak. And then all of a sudden you hear a tink. And that was it releasing the latch. That door just creaked. I mean, it like took forever for that summit all the way open. Creak as it opened. Look, me and my uncle at the same time looked toward that closet. And there that clown was. His eyes were lit up. And he was not walking. You know, when people walk, they kind of bounce. This thing didn't walk. It was gliding right toward the beds. My mom and dad was coming down the hallway, and just before the clown got to the bed, we made a run for the door. First to that door, damn near knocked my mom and dad down. We was hiring that clown, the clown's after us. My God, my dad got mad. My mom happened to look in there, and she seen that clown going backwards into the closet. She lost it. I'd never seen her raise her voice to my dad. That day she did. That night she did. She was them boys ain't lying. That clown just slid backwards right into that damn closet, and I seen it. My dad said, you're all full of shit. He popped into our bedroom, and just as he did, that clown, the door had not shut yet, and that clown disappeared right in front of my dad's eyes. He didn't say a damn thing. It's you boys get your ass downstairs. We went downstairs. He goes, you go to the pantry, get your blankets and some pillows. You're sleeping downstairs tonight. I'll check this out tomorrow. But he didn't say what he'd seen or anything. My mom just kind of looked at him. As he turned to go back to the stairs, my mom looked back and she was like, it'll be okay. So we made her piled in the floor there in front of the fireplace, and he goes, see, I heard him holler. And don't be turning that damn TV on either. You guys get some sleep or I'm going to kick somebody's ass. We didn't say nothing. We laid there sleeping, but all night long, you could hear them damn bells and that clown upstairs in our room, and it was running around trying to find us where we had went to. I don't know why it seemed like it, at that night, it just seemed like it was contained to the bedroom. My mom and dad got up, went down the hallway to that bedroom, just knew we was in there messing around. They opened that door, a damn clown was jumping up down on the bed. They slammed that door and went along, and here they come, down the stairs and in the living room. Mom decided to sleep in the easy chair, and Dad decided to sleep on the couch, and they didn't tell us nothing, but we knew they had seen something. It's probably that damn clown. Well, if you want to hear the rest of the story, stay tuned for the third part. Thank you and good night.